Rainbow Reflections, Book 1, A Kind of Magic, Chapter 20, Breakthrough. Once the moonlight dance was over, many of the students went home the following day for the rest of winter break. The Moon Festival, celebrating the winter season, began on December 22nd. The Day of the Moon was the official winter holiday, but the students would be back in school by the time it arrived on January 22nd. Most families therefore celebrated the holiday during the Moon Festival instead. Zin and Ren were quite accustomed to being the only kids in the whole school during the summer and winter breaks. But now they had Sarala with them too. Once Ren got over her annoyance with Sarala, which took a few days until Sarala persuaded her to finish the game of Yut they'd started before the dance. The three girls had plenty of fun together, playing games or chatting. They even practiced martial arts, though Hyaktu refused to teach them any new moves. December 28th was soon upon them, and Hyaktu woke Zin very early. Zin blinked in confusion for a moment, then remembered what this day meant. "We're going to Greater," Hyaktu whispered. "I'm going to see the therapist today!" Zin yelped. "Shush!" Hyaktu ordered, though his eyes lit up in amusement. "Come on." "What about breakfast?" Zin queried. "We'll make it on the way." "Okay." Hyaktu left the room as Zin got dressed in her typical stripy shirt and baggy pants. She threw on a robe with lightning bolts across it, then hurried after her father. She ran up the stairs, passing Sarala's room on the 5th floor, and coming to a stop outside Hyaktu's room on the 6th. Hyaktu waited between two doors. One door led to his bedroom, while the other door led to a bridge that connected to the northeastern tower. "Wear this," Hyaktu said, and he shoved a fuzzy hat on Zin's head. "Hey!" she complained as the hat went over her eyes. "You can't beat me!" Hyaktu exclaimed, and he bolted out the door and across the bridge. Zin pushed the hat out of her eyes and took off after her father. She skidded to a stop after a few steps, almost forgetting to close the door. Otherwise, the tower would be freezing. Once done, she hurried across the snowy bridge, but Hyaktu had already reached the opposite tower. "No fair! You cheated!" Zin scoffed. "And I bet you woke up everyone!" Hyaktu shrugged. "It's winter break. They'll probably go back to sleep for hours anyway." He unlocked the door he stood next to, and led the way inside the other tower. This tower was 6 floors tall as well, but there weren't any actual floors. The entire tower would have been empty if there wasn't a giant ship sitting in it. Most people used small boats to get around, which were powered by magic. But Hyaktu traveled with the ship. The large vessels were most often seen at sea or in busy cities. Hyaktu lifted his hand in front of him, and the whole place soon lit up. He then walked down 2 flights of stairs to a platform that sat parallel to the ship's deck. He hopped across the small gap and landed on the deck, then went to check the sails. Zin followed him onto the deck and to the next level. The ship was 4 floors in height if the sails weren't being counted. The 3rd floor, which Zin was now on, contained the kitchen and several bedrooms. The kitchen was located at the very front of the ship, with a giant window instead of a wooden wall, so they could keep an eye on what was in front of them without being on the deck itself. Beyond the kitchen was a narrow hallway, with doors that led to various bedrooms. The 2nd floor was the fun floor. One side of the hallway was dedicated to a vast library. On the other side was a game room and a big training room, complete with orange mats and a lawn mirror, just as in the Kung Fu and Tai Chi studios at the school. The 1st floor wasn't meant for much beyond the engines, bathroom, and extra storage space. It also contained a large door that allowed them to get on and off the ship. The door had to be big to allow furniture and other enormous objects to get on board. Zin remembered when Hyaktu ordered new beds for the school. There wasn't enough space for the beds in the storage room, and they had to make multiple trips to Greater. A weekend trip turned into a 2-week-long project. Zin sat down at the square-shaped kitchen table, still feeling tired despite running in the frigid temperatures. She had no idea what time it was, but the sky wasn't even gray yet, so she assumed it was quite early. Hyaktu came down the stairs. "Are you ready to fly, Zin?" he asked cheerfully. "Why are we going so early?" "The appointment is at 9. Greater is hours away, as you know, Hyaktu pointed out. Ugh. You can always go back to bed. No, I'm already up, Zin said with a yawn. Besides, the engines are always so loud. It takes forever to fall asleep when they're on. Hyaktu shrugged. Suit yourself, he said. He walked away down the hall where another set of stairs lay. After a few minutes, the loud engines roared to life, causing the whole ship to vibrate. Zin went to one of the side windows and watched the engines come out from the first floor. There were 4 engines in total, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, on both sides of the ship. Hyaktu soon returned, but he didn't stop at the kitchen. He walked up the stairs to return to the deck. Zin trailed after him, always fascinated to see the ship take off. Hyaktu now stood facing the tower wall, where the forest around the school lay on the other side. He lifted his hands in front of him, focusing entirely on the stone. After a few seconds, the rock began to shift. Several minutes passed, then there was a large gap in the tower wall. Zin could now see the forest, full of pine and fuzzy trees. Once the wall was open, Hyaktu moved to the steering wheel at the front of the ship. He hit a button, which made the ship fly in reverse, then steered it carefully through the aperture. After they were out of the tower, Hyaktu hit another button, which made the ship hover in midair. He then faced the tower, raised his hands, and the wall closed once more. Ready to go? Hyaktu called to Zin. Zin leaned against the railing and stared out at the school. Definitely, she said, grinning. The enchanted ship then raised higher into the sky until it was above the treetops. Hyaktu hit another button, and the ship went forward, heading west for the city. Zin was full of anxious energy as the ship got closer to Greater hours later. What would the therapist do? Was she going to be able to keep taking the potions that Fern had given to her, which shrunk her chest? Please calm down, Hyaktu said, setting a dish of steaming pancakes on the kitchen table. Zin stopped tapping her foot and glanced over her shoulder at her father. Sorry, she murmured. She snatched a pancake from the plate, then decided she was too anxious to eat and merely held it as she continued to bounce. Would she be able to set up a permanent surgery? What about taking hormonal potions? What sort of process would she have to go through to be comfortable in her body? Hyaktu walked over to Zin, placing a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry. From what I understand, this first meeting is just to get to know you. The therapist needs to make sure you're actually feeling dysphoria, then they'll send you to other healers for different parts of the process. It all depends on what you want to do with your body, which the therapist will go over. Zin fidgeted uneasily. But what if I've had my realization too late? Will I won't be able to take Fern's potions? What do you mean too late? It's never too late to figure out more about yourself or make changes in your life. If I felt dysphoric at my age, I'd be able to go and chat with the therapist too. Zin chuckled lightly at the thought. Okay, maybe not so much with age, but does it matter if I didn't feel too dysphoric until a few weeks ago? I mean, I've been feeling like that for a while, but it took me a bit of time to realize what it was. Ren told me you were very upset when you started puberty, Hyaktu said simply. You started at what, 13? You've been feeling like this for over a year then. Zin shrugged in return. To be honest, ever since I was a kid, I've never felt comfortable about the idea of having... She motioned to her thankfully flat chest. I understand, Hyaktu assured her. But if you start taking hormonal potions, you can get off those at any point if you decide this isn't for you. That is, if you want to take hormonal potions. I think I do, Zin said. She suddenly grinned. Then I can grow a nice long mustache like you! Hyaktu stared at her blandly. Zin snapped her gaze to the window. Dad! Hyaktu looked up, then dashed away to the deck for the wheel. They were only feet away from hitting the top of a building. Hyaktu managed to reach the wheel in time, and Zin stared out the window to watch the mighty ship fly higher in the sky. She let out a sigh of relief, then hurried to the deck. Hyaktu moved the ship to the outskirts of the city. Once the ship landed with a rumbling thud, the two went to the bottom floor of the ship. Hyaktu turned off the engines, and they went to the storage room. He opened the door with a quick hand wave, and they got off the ship, Hyaktu closing and locking it behind them. Zin suddenly didn't know what to say. She realized she was still holding the pancake and offered it to Hyaktu, who merely pocketed it. They climbed up a small green slope towards the heart of the city. Zin stared around at all the trees and plants, finding it hard to focus on the people milling about. Wheeled boats drove by on the cobblestone roads, their wooden wheels rattling and creaking as they went. Merchant stalls were set up on the sidewalks, selling food, clothes, jewelry, and more. The buildings were mostly made of stone rather than wood, and stood at least 5 floors tall with small plants growing on the roofs. After several minutes of walking, they reached a building with Greater Gender Services printed in large letters over the doorway. Hyaktu held open the door for Zin, and she stepped inside. They went up to the front desk, Hyaktu taking over the conversation as Zin's mouth suddenly went dry. Hyaktu announced that they were there for an appointment at 9, filled out some paperwork for Zin since her hands were too shaky, and the two went to sit in the waiting area. They had barely sat down when they heard their mispronounced names.
Aktu and Zinvis K. Hong?
A loud voice called. The voice belonged to a tall person with angular eyes and blonde hair. They stood in a doorway off to the right of the front desk. Hyaktu and Zin got to their feet and approached the person.
Welcome to Greater Gender Services,
the person said.
I am Dr. Yang. Please verify your names and date of birth.
Hyaktu Sai-Han, Hyaktu pronounced slowly and loudly, and Zinovis Sai-Han. My birthday is March 17th, 12 JE, and Zinovis is July 28th, 40 JE. The year was 54 JE, though it would soon be 55 JE. JE stood for Juniper Era. Each era lasted 200 years, and then another era would be listed with the next letter of the alphabet, starting the number cycle again. Every era had so far been named after a tree. The first era was the Aspen Era, and the eras following were named Birch, Cypress, Dragon, Elder, Fir, Gorse, Holly, and Ivy. Many titles derived from nature, especially first and last names.
Right this way then, Yaktu Zinovis,
the doctor said cheerfully. Hyaktu rolled his eyes beside Zin once Dr. Yun had turned away. They then trailed the doctor down a small hall, soon turning into a room on the left. After the two entered, Dr. Yun closed the door and sat down on a chair. Hyaktu and Zin sat on a bouncy couch across from them.
What brings you in today?
Dr. Yun asked brightly. I hate my body, Zin said bluntly. For the next 20 minutes, she told the doctor how she had despised her body since she started puberty, that she had feared her body changing when she was younger. She told him how she had felt very dysphoric a mere 2 weeks prior to the appointment, and how she wanted to rip her chest off. She didn't mention anything about taking Fern's potions, as Hyaktu warned her not to.
So, what are you hoping for?
Dr. Yun asked, after Zin finished speaking.
What do you want to get out of coming to therapy?
Zin looked to Hyaktu for guidance. I know transgender people have to go to therapy first, in order to get a referral to healers that can help them change their bodies, Hyaktu said.
So you want a referral after one session?
Hyaktu frowned. I assume it's going to take more than one session.
You thought correctly,
the doctor said.
It takes at least 3 sessions before you can get a referral to any sort of healer. And no, the sessions cannot be in the same month.
Zin's heart sunk at once. Fern said she wouldn't make more potions for Zin if she didn't get permission. Was Zin's chest going to grow again? What if it got even bigger than before? Why not? Hyaktu asked. If a person knows that they want to take potions...
Some people think that's what they want, but realize they don't want it after all.
Dr. Yun interrupted.
Zinovis is still going through puberty. The most we can do right now between sessions is give her a hormonal blocking potion. The potion will stop her body from changing any further and basically put puberty on pause.
Zin perked up at once.
But there is a downside to that. Stopping puberty will also stop magic, in most cases.
Dr. Yun said seriously. Hyaktu stared at them. Not Permanently? The doctor shook their head.
No, of course not. But if your body thinks it is pre-puberty again, then your body won't be able to unlock its magic, even if you've already accessed your magic. It's rare for people to still be able to do magic while on hormonal blocking potions.
Zin sighed lightly. Well, what are the other options? Hyaktu asked, frowning.
Zin doesn't take any potion while seeing me for therapy.
They said promptly.
She can wait until she gets a referral to a hormone healer. The hormone healer will give her potions with testosterone, which will make her body become more masculine, giving her facial hair and more muscles and stopping cycles. Her body will still be going through puberty, so she will still be able to access magic if she goes that route. If she doesn't want to take hormonal potions, she can get a referral to a surgeon to get a permanent surgery done for her chest. It sounds like her chest is the biggest cause of her dysphoria, and many people come in just to get the surgery done, without taking hormonal potions. However, as Xenophis is still so young, she will have to wait until she is 16 before she can get surgery done.
I want to have both done, Zin exclaimed. I want to have the body of a male or intersex person, not a female. Do I start the hormonal potions after I see you 3 times? Dr. Yun shook their head.
You have to be at least 15 before taking hormonal potions. You can take hormonal blocking potions at any point between now and then, though. Your magic will just be blocked off during that time.
Zin exchanged a glance with her father. What do I do? It's your decision, Zin, Hyaktu said telepathically, looking over at her. If you want to wait, your body will just go back to how it was before. You'd only have to wait 7 months before you can get a referral for the hormonal potions, or you can take the blocking potions until you turn 15, in which case your magic will be blocked off. But on the bright side, you'd have your magic by the next school year once you're 15 and on the hormonal potions. Zin had no idea what to do. On the one hand, she was horrified to think that her body would go through with puberty, that her chest would continue to grow. But on the other hand, she wanted to at least try to connect with her magic and stay enrolled in school for the spring semester. I don't know, she mumbled aloud.
This is why it's so important to have multiple sessions of therapy.
Dr. Yun said with a small smile.
Therapy helps you clear away the fog and realize what decisions you want to make. But we are out of time for our first sessions. Would you like me to give you a prescription for the hormonal blocking potions? Or would you like to keep your body as it is until we meet next?
Keep my body as it is? No! Zin said, getting to her feet abruptly. I don't want my body to stay that way. I want the blocking potions, please. Dr. Yun grinned.
Consider it done,
they said, grabbing a paper and scrawling across it.
There you go. That's enough for 1 cauldron full of potions, which is roughly 1 month. Take it to the front desk and they'll give you the potions. I'd like to see you in another month, once you've been taking the potion for a while. That way, if you want to stay on it, you can let me know in the next session. Of course, if you want to stop taking it, you can simply stop and dispose of the potions.
Zin nodded numbly.
See you soon,
Dr. Yun said, waving them out the door. Hyaktu led the way down the hall and back to the front desk. They reached the desk, Hyaktu taking the prescription from Zin and handing it over to the person waiting for them. We'll have this ready for you in about 10 minutes, the person said. We have so many of these stacked up, but they've got to be enchanted. And when did the doctor want to see you back? A month, Hyaktu said. January 28th, fine. It's a Thursday. Hyaktu nodded. Okay, you're scheduled for that day, same time. You can sit in the waiting area until your potions come out. Do I need to pay? Hyaktu asked. You will receive the bill through the airmail address you provided on your paperwork. Hyaktu and Zin went to sit down in the waiting area. There were a few more people in the room now, and they were each called away to their appointments. After 10 long and silent minutes, a door opened, and another person brought them a large box of potion vials. You take 1 potion each day, the person told them. It will reverse any changes puberty brought with it. Thanks, Zin said. Hyaktu took the wooden crate and they headed out the door. Once they were outside, Zin looked over at her father. His eyes were glistening. Dad? Zin mumbled. Come on, he said, leading the way to the main street. Are you mad at me? No. Zin could feel tears pricking at her own eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered. You don't have anything to be sorry about, Hyaktu said firmly, glancing over at her. I chose a potion over magic, Zin murmured. How could I do that? How could I choose this over you? You're hurt by my decision, aren't you? You always wanted me to go to school and learn magic, and now I'm doing the opposite. No, you chose your body and your mental health over magic, Hyaktu said, putting a hand on her shoulder as he shifted the box to one arm. Besides, you can't expect to learn magic if you aren't at home in your body. Once you're comfortable with yourself, you can focus on the world around you. Like that saying, you can only help others once you've helped yourself. In this case, magic is the others, and your body is what you need to help first. But I betrayed you, Zin said hoarsely, unable to look into her father's eyes. You did not betray me in any way, Hyaktu growled. Get that idea out of your head. Yes, I want you to learn magic, but not at the expense of your own health. You'll learn magic when you're ready to learn it. You come first, not magic. Zin sighed. But now I won't learn magic until next year. You made the decision that will make you happier in the long run, Hyaktu said firmly. I'd much rather have you late to learning magic than hurting yourself over being stuck in a body that makes you uncomfortable. Zin shifted uneasily, unable to meet her father's gaze. But is this going to come between us? Hyaktu's eyes widened and he squeezed her shoulder. No, of course not. Zin knew she should trust her father, but she still felt she had caused a rift between them by choosing herself over the path she should be taking. I'm proud of you, Zinnivis, Hyaktu said. I'm proud of you for taking the steps to be who you want to be who you are. We all have our own paths in life, and this is your path you must take. He pulled her into a tight, one-armed hug. Zin was glad he couldn't see the tears streaking down her cheeks. Anyway, the good thing about taking you out of classes is that we can just blame the potion instead of cheating. That'll still be an embarrassment, Zin muttered. We've had a few students like that before. They'd leave the school and come back at a later date. That's why some students come to the school at 15 or even 16 instead of 14. It's not that strange at all. Okay, Zin muttered. But you'll still let me take Kung Fu, and art, and magic studies? Hyaktu nodded. Of course. He pulled a pancake from his pocket and gave it to Zin. Hungry?